In Washington, a new arms deal was signed for Israel, which includes 12 combat helicopters and 2 modern aircraft to refuel in the air, to be funded from the annual U.S. support allocations, while the Israeli Defense Minister, Benny Gantz, welcomed this deal, and indicated that it is part of the preparations' ongoing confrontation with Iran. Yesterday, Gantz said, "These agreements are another important step in building the strength of the Israeli army." Military sources in Tel Aviv also said yesterday that the deal includes a clause stipulating that the two American companies will match the planes to the Israeli needs and the military requirements of its air force, and that Israeli-made technological devices will be added to it. The sources clearly added that these planes will be used when attacking distant targets, such as Iran, according to the Hebrew newspaper Yedioth Ahronoth. Yesterday, the Israeli Defense Ministry said that this armament is part of several large-scale steps that have taken place in the past year and a half, aimed at strengthening the capabilities and building strength in the Israeli army against current and future threats, including in the third episode, in reference to Iran. The Israeli armament plan, with annual U.S. aid funding, includes the purchase of F-35 aircraft, KC-46 refueling aircraft, CH-53K personnel carrier helicopters, advanced air munitions, air defense systems, new sea and land platforms and new programs. Cyber and digital. She confirmed that Minister Gantz is conducting talks with the Pentagon on the continuous strengthening of Israeli armaments. The price of the helicopter deal is about $2 billion, and they are manufactured by Lockheed Martin and replace similar SAAR helicopters owned by the Israeli Army. The price of the 2 refueling planes is $1.1 billion, and they are manufactured by Boeing. Both deals will be funded by U.S. aid to Israel, which amounts to $3.8 billion a year. According to the agreement, the Israeli army will be able to purchase another 6 personnel carriers, while the 2 refueling planes are part of a deal that includes 4 planes. The 2 supply planes will arrive in Israel in 2024 and the helicopters in 2026. But the Chief of Staff of the Army, Aviv Kohavi, will try to reduce the period of obtaining them for a short time. He sees this as an urgent interest and necessity in confronting the Iranian threat. The Americans refused to reduce the period, and Israel objected. And I decided to go to Washington to request talks on the matter. On the other hand, Israel sent a direct message to 25 countries in the world, declaring that it would support a new nuclear agreement with Iran if it was good, but without dropping the option of a military threat from the table. This message came through a press conference that included 25 prominent journalists representing important media outlets, in which the alternate Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yair Lapid, spoke in parallel with the resumption of negotiations between Iran and the major powers in Vienna on the nuclear agreement. Lapid told them, a nuclear Iran is a global threat, and that it is today the largest supporter of terrorism in the world. This message will reach millions of people, a spokesman for Lapid said. The State Department has translated this message into all languages, and we are concerned all the time that they are aware anywhere of the dangers and implications of a nuclear Iran. His sayings have been translated into 15 languages: Arabic, Japanese, Korean, English, Greek, Spanish, Italian, Czech, Portuguese, Brazilian, Serbian, German, Russian, Swedish, French and Chinese. Among the most prominent newspapers he spoke with were the American New York Times, the British Telegraph, the Italian La Repubblica, the Spanish El Mundo, the Indian Times and the Chinese Globe's Times. And from what he said in his statement to them and in response to their questions, Lapid said, Iran is a threat to the whole world, and we will defend ourselves against its practices. He added, it is very important for the world to know that Iran is not only a problem for Israel, and that the international community must stop the Iranian nuclear program. An Israeli source said that Lapid's statements had a positive impact, but not only some newspapers used the Iranian issue in their headlines when publishing the interview. An Indian newspaper took care of Lapid saying that relations between Israel and India go beyond mere friendship. An Australian newspaper said that Israel is very interested in strengthening security relations with Australia. Our overall vision is to pursue a positive proactive diplomatic strategy, the Chinese newspaper quoted him as saying. In an interview with Brazilian newspaper,